Oh, hi! This week we're making little Togepi pouches. I've had this idea for so long and I have some like different iterations I want to try out. I had yet to actually experiment with any of the ideas. So this is the first go. This is more about how I Togepified the Togepification of these zipper pouches, but there's a more thorough walkthrough of like the basic assembly of this type of box corner zippy pouch. I'll put a little card right here where I actually go more in depth because I feel like I kind of skimmed through some of the later steps once I got the base situated. So let's get into it. I wouldn't make them the same way again, but I'm still really proud of the idea. And you know, they're not bad for a first try at this design. Actually, technically second try, but I'll get to that later. As with any of my zipper pouches, I got some lining fabric. I used the same fabric for the lining as I did the top of the outer layers. Then I took some white panels that weren't quite as tall as the full piece. Also, this pattern is up for free on my Patreon. You don't have to donate to it to get access to it, but if you just look under the tag free patterns or just patterns or bags or probably zipper pouch, you should be able to find it, and it has all the dimensions and all of the pieces I used and any other notes I have about my construction of it, so go wild. Then I layered a strip of white, drew like a little zigzag across the top, stitched those layers together, trimmed the seam allowance down across the top of all the peaks, and then I trimmed the outward corners, but for the inner corners I did like a little nip, not through the stitching but right up to the stitching so that everything would lay a little flatter. Then I flipped all of that out. I used a point turner to help turn the points as indicated by the name of the tool. Then I top stitched all of that down to the beige outer layer. Oh, I forgot to mention I interfaced the beige outer layer as well, so each side has some interfacing just to give it some sturdification. I don't know why, because I pressed the shit out of all this and interfaced it, but the beige fabric really wants to wrinkle. Did my damnedest to work with it, but it's also the only fabric I had that was like the perfect color for this. Worth it for the look, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, before I started putting the actual bag together, I took out these fabric markers. These were gifted to me by my fairy god Cheryl sometime last summer, I think, because I was talking about doing some fabric printing. Oh, and to note about a previous attempt at a Togepi bag. I figured out in a very dumb way that the ink that comes with the lino block printing kit, it's not the same as fabric ink. I need to just fucking buy myself the Speedball fabric ink, but I keep not doing it. It is expensive, so I just don't. And this was my second attempt at like using things I had been gifted, so it was fun to noodle around with these. Maybe doing like a tie-dye, something that doesn't need crisp lines is where I would use these fabric markers. So this is Graffiti brand. They're permanent. I like the pigmentation of this, but as you can see, especially on the red for some reason, it like bled a bit. It's not too bad on the blue shapes. I don't know why that is. I still like how it looks and I'm proud of the idea. I wouldn't do this the same way again. Also, P.S. these are Patreon gifts, so if you like getting my experimental prototyping process, I mean sometimes I make things I have actually tested out before, but y'all are my guinea pigs sometimes, and this is one of those scenarios. So Chris and Cheryl, I hope you like the bags. I just love how Togepi looks. He's such a cute little happy guy, and he's one of the only non-original 150 Pokemon that I actually have any awareness of. He's just such a good little dude. So I did do some swatching with all of the colors I got of this set of markers. And then these are the swatches from the Tulip brand fabric markers that Cheryl also sent me. It's obviously a bigger variety. It's not as intense of a pigment. They're all kind of pastel-y and they bled like a motherfucker. So I don't know what else I want to use these on again, other than like kind of a loose, maybe tie-dye type situation, more abstract artwork. Maybe I'll come up with something, but at the moment I don't have anything in mind. So if you have suggestions, please let me know, because I don't want these to go to waste. But man, I am really, really glad I finally put some time into working with these, because they've been sitting. If you've seen them up, nope, this way, up here, they've been up here for like a year and I haven't really fucked with them yet. So yeah, thank you to, well, everyone over on my Patreon, but Cheryl and Chris included, for supporting what I do, because it gives me the time to noodle around with stuff like this. I also did a fun little experimental, oh, I already packed them all up, son of a bitch. I will try to insert a photo here if I took one before I packaged everything up, but I made some fun Sewing Nerd logo patches. I don't know what made me think to do this particular type of stitching, but I did like embroidery, just outline work in different colors with my my sewing machine, and I like how it came out. It's obviously not as cool as like a full embroidered thing. There's this person on TikTok that makes embroidered patches with a chain stitching machine, and it looks incredible. Not that I have any room for any other machines, especially something that's not as utilitarian like my Serger and Furiosa back here, but it would be fun to play around with one of those. It seems like there's so much cool shit you could do, but that's the case with literally every creative tool. Anyways, just thank you for Patreon pals for allowing me to do this kind of stuff, because it's a lot of fun and I'm just forever learning, and what an incredible privilege that is. So I'm very, very lucky. Okay, we went a little too deep in the cheese, but we're back. This is the part where I don't get as into detail as far as the bag construction because, like I said, we Togepi'd it. The Togepification has been accomplished. So I took a zipper, I made some zipper tabs, put the outer layer right sides together, and then the lining on the wrong side of the zipper, stitched that together, did the other side, did some top stitching to keep all that nice and flat, and especially that particular top stitch right there lets the zipper kind of stick up like that once it's all together, and I just love that effect so much. Then I flipped the outer layers right sides together and the lining layers right sides together. I stitched around everything except the corners, and I left a gap in the bottom of the lining. Then I trimmed some of the bulk down, especially where the zipper ends are. Then I laid the corners flat so that the side and bottom seams were touching, little smooching in the middle, and then stitched across that, trimmed all of those threads, and then I flipped everything right side out, did the bag birthing process, everyone's favorite part. Then I closed up the gap in the lining that I had left and pushed out any of the corners and zipper edges and everything, and voila, we have tiny little Togepi bags. I think my next step is making these into wristlets. I was a little too spooked with like the bulk on this. I didn't want to add too many new things to my bag experiment, but layering something with the zigzaggy top, I really like how that looks. Thinking of doing like gradients of that, I think that may add too many layers of fabric, but you can get creative with how you layer things, I suppose. But making like multiple layers of a mountainscape or something, I think there's a lot I can do with this idea, and this is just the first of so many things. Also, hi, if you can't tell by the fact I don't have the studio lights on in here, it's so hot. I'm literally about to slide off of the chair because of so much leg sweat. Everything on me is sweaty. It's summer. I hate summer so much. I'm filming this at the beginning of August, so we're still in summer weather, although I am so ready for fall, and the weekend of August 1st and July 31st was like the perfect weather where it was in the 70s, it was cool, there was a good breeze, there wasn't that crispness to the air that comes with fall in New England, but oh, it was that like first kiss of autumn, and I'm ready for those spooky smooches. I'm gonna stop talking. I will see you all back here with another video next Friday. Thank you so much for hanging out. What does that even mean? I am starting to go off the rails.